मैं एजाज खान आप सबका फिर डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटी के इस कार्यक्रम में स्वागत करता हूं। आप जानते हैं ये कार्यक्रम यूआईसी यानी यूनिवर्सिटी इंडस्ट्री इंटरफेस सेल द्वारा आयोजित किया गया है और हमारे इस प्रोग्राम का ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है कि आप प्लेसमेंट की तैयारी घर बैठे करें और आपको एक्सपोजर घर बैठे मिले। आज हमारे साथ इस प्रोग्राम में जुड़े हैं मिस्टर वेंकटरमन उमाकांत। वेंकटरमन जी, आपका इस प्रोग्राम में बहुत स्वागत है। वेलकम टू दिस प्रोग्राम।
शुक्रिया।
Venkatraman ji is a business leader and a technology leader with more than 2 decades of experience in IT sector. He's worked with several MNC companies including IBM and Cognizant. And he was a global artificial intelligence solutions leader at IBM prior to joining NASSCOM. Currently, he's working with NASSCOM and he is the member success lead for future skills. और आज का हमारा टॉपिक है leveraging emerging technologies through an online platform. Venkat ji, thank you so much for coming, and I would request you to share your insight on this topic.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ejaz, and thanks everyone for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to address the students as well. So, good afternoon to everyone. I know this is a very important topic. And I would like to start with a quote that I read at a hospital. It's about 10 years back when my dad wasn't well. It was such a powerful quote that it stayed with me. And it said, "No one makes a lock without a key. Similarly, universe won't give you a problem without a solution." Now, isn't that so powerful? There is a solution. You may not have found it, but there is a solution to all the problem. Now, you might be wondering what is the connection between what I'm saying and the topic. Now, just rewind last 2 months, 2 or 3 months that we have gone through. Just have you ever imagined how our life would have been, especially in the last 2-3 months, without technology? Technology has actually been a lifeline for us, right from staying connected with our near and dear ones, to getting essentials like groceries, to continue with work, with your online classes or video consultation with doctors. And the most important thing, even the COVID times, the tracking of the spread of virus and the proximity of the infected people is also being done using technology, right? So it is there in every aspect of our life. And this has only got amplified in the last 2-3 months. Now, what does this mean? So if you see technology a few years back, it was more like, okay, IT is an industry, okay, that's a vertical, technology is just related to IT. But today, if you look at technology, it is like a horizontal, and it applies across industry verticals, be it BFSI, healthcare, retail, and any of the other domains that you might want to pick up. Now, what are these technologies? Now, I give you a few examples earlier in terms of your collaboration tools or video consultation or online classes or tracking. What are those technologies that come to your mind? The ones that come to mind is the artificial intelligence, the analytics, which is behind that, and what happens when you have too much of data which is generated. It has to reside somewhere, so that's where your cloud comes in. And then obviously when you have a lot of data on the open web, there is one important element which is there, which is the security aspect. So your cyber security comes in. And then you have your robotic process automation, blockchain, and so many else. Just if you just look at the last 2-3 months, you would see how these technologies have been playing in and around your life, even without your knowledge. Now, let me just display my screen. I want to just show you how NASSCOM actually worked on that and what is the kind of the macro view of the landscape. Now, we did talk about technology and its impact. And this slide is more about just giving you a view in terms of the opportunity, the first thing, right? So on the digital transformation space, there is immense opportunity, and the opportunity is only going to grow from here, right? So thanks to COVID, the good part of that is there is a sudden rise in the ask for the demand digital transformation as well. Now, if you look at the market opportunity, in India, we were looking at somewhere around 200 billion. And we expect that to grow to about 1 trillion by 2025. That's a big opportunity. But all opportunities, as you know, comes along with the risk and challenges as well. So what would the risk? The risk is, if you look at the current workforce, right? So more than 50% of the current workforce, they need to be significantly reskilled or upskilled for them to stay relevant, right? So in today's world, the term relevance has become key. Right? It's not just having skills, whether you have the relevant skill is very important. And if you just shift to the other one where it talks about the demand supply gap. Now, this is just a view about one technology area, which is AI big data. Now, if you see there is a demand of 230,000, whereas we expect based on the research that it's only university can churn out only 90,000. So there is a huge gap which exists only in one technology area. And there are other technologies that we spoke about. Right? So how do we really handle that? Because this has to be addressed. Otherwise, it will lead to other challenges that we have. Because typically today people say there are no jobs. But actually that's wrong. There are jobs, but we don't have people to really address that or take up those jobs. Now, also the nature of jobs are changing dramatically. Like if you look at the job roles that are there today, probably 5 years back, they were not in existence. And we don't know what's coming up in the next 5 years. So that's the other aspect of the changing job. So the entire thing, if you have heard the term VUCA, VUCA is an acronym which says it's vulnerable, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. That's the kind of world that we're living in. So we'll have to live with this uncertainty. But does it mean that we're going to keep quiet? No. But we need to do a little more for us to stay relevant and grow. Now, when you look at the solution, while there is a great opportunity here, talent is something or the skill is something which is going to be your competitive advantage. It is not for the organizations alone, for the nation and for the individuals. Because at the end of the day, it matters. What matters today is what's the talent or the skill that you have. Gone are the days, because most of the companies, I remember when I actually passed out of the college, they used to say you can apply only if you have 70% across your 10th, 12th, engineering and all that. But today, most of the companies, they've got rid of that. Right? So it's more about, if you have the capability, please join us. Right? So what are these 10 technologies that we're talking about? So this came out of a research that was done by Boston Consulting Group, along with the industry experts. And we came across these 10 technology areas and 10 professional skills. One second. Yeah. So if you look at the 10 technology areas, these are something that you would be aware of. It's nothing new, no brainer. These are the ones which are prevalent in the market. But what is very important here is also on the professional skills. And with the COVID, I'm sure each one of you who are listening to this or watching this video would agree that the need for some of these professional skills has only gone up multiple notches, right? Because if you have to really collaborate on a virtual platform, it is very important that you have a good communication skill. You need to have a good collaborative skills. And managing people, when you talk about project management, managing people virtually is not easy. Believe me, we've done that. So it is difficult, but it's quite possible. And we are actually doing that. In the last 2 months, we see a lot of organizations have actually coped up to that. It's not that they really wanted it, but they have been able to do that. Now, if I move on, right, so from a technology perspective, you heard these are the technologies. This is what Future Skills from NASSCOM are focusing on because we have built our own platform, which is an industry-driven learning ecosystem. And the reason why we did that is because there was so much of skilling that's required in the country. And our vision from NASSCOM is to make sure India becomes the digital talent hub. And for that, that's one of the reasons why we came up with this. Now, let me just share the screen. Okay, let me just move on. Now, talking about the opportunities, right? So while you heard these are technologies which are prevalent and all that, obviously there is questions in your mind. Do we really have opportunities in this area? Or is it just something which is in the future? So this is just to give you an indicator view about what are the opportunity size. You saw about AI, you talk about big data, talk about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, actually there is an international body which is ISC2. They actually call out that there is a requirement about 5 million cybersecurity professionals by 2025. And there are various other reports. So even if you don't go by the absolute number, because the numbers based on the research that comes out. There could be a variation. But the important aspect for you to look at is the quantum of opportunity which is there. So cybersecurity is another space where there is immense opportunity. Now, how do you actually learn these technologies, right? So there's a question whether, because if you are from a stream which is not a pure computer science, you probably are working in a mechanical, or you could be doing your undergraduate in a commerce or an arts. Does it really apply to you? The answer is absolutely yes. The degree to which you want to get involved in those technologies could vary. Like today from NASSCOM, and I work with all the ITS firms and other organizations, what I've seen is most organizations are saying that digital literacy or digital fluency is a must. It's not a nice to have, it's a must. And why do they say that? Like you might be thinking, if I'm a finance guy, do I really need to know AI or big data? It'll be good, because otherwise you might look not that smart when you're conversing with a client or some of your peers as well. So it is good for you to understand what this technology means, what are the different use cases within industry, so that you can relate to it, and that will trigger the thought pattern. Okay, this is an area where probably I can use analytics, or this is one process which I can automate. So it is basically to trigger those thoughts. And that's why organizations are actually pushing all their employees to get digitally literate, irrespective of whether you are doing a technical job or a non-technical job. But if you are actually a computer science or electronics engineer, or even a mechatronics or so, then I would recommend, or NASSCOM recommends, that people do pick up these skills as well, because it is very important that you have your core fundamentals really strong. Like if you're a mechanical engineer, make sure you are really good at the subject. But is that good enough alone? If you're an automobile engineer, just having good knowledge on automobile engineering, is that good enough? Probably yes, but is it what is expected? Probably not. If you have the digital skills as well, you will have an edge, because a lot of these automobile companies today, a majority of the revenue also comes from software, incidentally, not from their manufacturing, right? So that's where the trend is moving. So you have an edge. If you're not a software engineer, if you're in some other branch, you have an advantage because you have the domain skill, plus you're getting a digital skill. So you have an added advantage. Now, how do we really learn these skills? The question is about whether you learn it through your online platform, or you always have to go through a classroom training, right? So the point is, it doesn't matter which platform it is, because it again depends on what particular stream you're focused on, right? So in today's world, especially if you look at the current scenario, everybody is looking for an online version because they have time, they are at home, they're not able to go anywhere, but can they leverage the time to learn new skills? And this is across the corporate world as well. Now, the screen which I'm showing you is just to get you a view in terms of the pre-lockdown and the post-lockdown, how some of these online portals, how has the traffic been? Right? If you just pick up a couple of examples, like Byju's, it was 8.67 before the lockdown, and now we have 11.37. Udemy was 9.29, and that's 17.81%. Right? So that's a share. So you see that there is an immense growth in terms of the consumption on the online portal, and predominantly it's on these technology areas. Now, if you look at how is it different from any other, because there are plenty of that, right? So on the open web. So the challenge could be in terms of which one do you pick up? So that again depends. If you have to ask me, okay, is Udemy better, or Coursera is better, or LinkedIn is better? It again depends on what you're looking for. And in today's world, there is no one single mantra saying, okay, this is the solution, go for it. It's about how do you leverage the collective intelligence. You learn something from here, you learn something from there. Doesn't matter where the knowledge comes from. So that's the way it is trending. But what we have done at NASSCOM is we launched an initiative called Future Skills, which is an industry-driven ecosystem, learning ecosystem. And this was built by the industry and for the industry. And the reason is what came on the first slide: for the opportunity that we have and the risk that we carry. The industry felt we can't just leave it, we can't battle or win this battle alone. So we'll have to fight it together. And that's the reason they got together and they created this platform, which is the Future Skills platform. Now, the reason I'm showing that is just for you to be aware of how this is being driven. Future Skills is being adopted by the corporate and the academia as well. There are more than 100 plus organizations who are leveraging the platform to reskill, upskill the people. The most important thing as to why I brought this chart is also to show you how the government is actually so keen on driving skilling as a top agenda. So with the success that we've had in the last 2 years since we launched Future Skills, the Ministry of Electronics and IT, they have collaborated with NASSCOM, and they want to take this learning to the citizens of India to make sure people are skilled on these digital technologies and they are digitally fluent, and India actually becomes a digital talent hub. So that's something which I briefly wanted to touch upon in terms of which are those technologies which are prevalent in the market, what is the kind of opportunities that you have, and what are the different vendors that we have, and what is NASSCOM doing in that space. If you look at from the industry perspective, again, I know that within AKtU, you have several colleges, and it's not just engineering colleges, there are other colleges as well, people from different streams. And it doesn't matter, because when we go to any of these organizations, it could be a services organization or a BPO organization, every single person, every single organization is actually trying to get people skilled on these technology areas, because that's going to be the driving factor. If you look at from a BPO or a BPM perspective, the technologies that matter to them could be different from what matters to a product company. For a BPM, it's more about robotic process automation, because for them, cost saving is very important, how they can be more efficient in that. So leveraging those automation capabilities to automate the process so that instead of doing a repetitive task by human, it can be automated and done by a machine. So if you look at, I think I mentioned that point earlier as well. In today's world, the essence of individual excellence is actually lost. So what matters is how are we able to leverage the collective intelligence? And it is not just when we deal with humans, but it's also with the systems and the way of getting knowledge. So you would see this happening across the industry too, like where one corporate is actually working with the others, trying to leverage each other's capability. Now, there are several online platforms, like you could just name NPTEL, Coursera, Udemy, Khan Academy, and so on. And it's really hard to call out which is the best, since it depends on the learner's choice. Now, one challenge that typically individuals face, right, when they get into any of these websites is, if I want to, as a user, I want to pick up a new skill, say AI or a cloud. The challenge that I have is, what should I really pick up? There are plenty of courses available, but which one should I pick up? Is this something which is relevant to me? So that's a question which comes in the mind. And what we have done at NASSCOM is, as part of the Sector Skill Council, we have been working with the industry experts to define the curriculum, right, so that there is a common language between the industry, academia, and the government as well. So one of the benefits of Future Skills platform, vis-a-vis any of the other platform, is you have a clarity in terms of what is the industry defining. And since you're learning that, you would know that, okay, this is something which the industry needs. So the idea is to bridge the gap between industry and academia. And as I mentioned, over the last 2 years, there are 100+ organizations who have adopted it. There are academia, universities and colleges who have adopted Future Skills. And the best part is there are corporates also who are coming forward and says, okay, we want to hire and tap into these potential, because if we have a ready employable youth who are skilled on these technologies, it would actually help reduce our training cycle and have them productive much sooner.
Right, Mr. Venkat, thank you. I think that was pretty informative. Now, you also mentioned about the opportunities, and a very interesting thing that it's not just for the CS and IT students. In fact, the students from other branches can also should be leveraging these opportunities. So is this platform a good place to go to for students of across different branches and across different streams?
Absolutely, Mr. Jas. That was the intent, because when the industry started this, and now that the Ministry of Electronics and IT also wanted to take it to the common citizen as well, the whole idea is, how do you make people digitally literate? So on the platform, again, because even if you look at the corporate world, right, the needs are quite different. So there could be a separate category of employees. Say you have people from the operations of finance. For them, having a basic knowledge on these technology areas is good enough. But imagine a developer or a person who aspires to be a data scientist. Obviously, he or she has to actually get into the details of that. So the platform sort of caters to all these segments, right from the awareness building to the foundation to the deep skill. And the platform is actually an aggregator. While we define the curriculum, we get the best content providers from the market to map their courses to the curriculum so that there is one common language, a benchmark that is being set up. And we do have assessments as well post that, so that there is a certification from an industry body, which probably could be easier for the organizations to accept. Because there could be one or two from the vendors, which might be well known, but others, they may not be, right? So they may not be able to establish saying that, okay, if somebody has done X course from X platform, what is the value of it? Not everybody might know that. So that's the whole idea of bringing in a common language, bringing in standardization across the curriculum as well.
Great, thank you. I have Dr. Babita, who is Director of UIC. Can I ask Dr. Babita if you could ask Mr. Venkat anything that students should know about, something that is connected with this topic?
Thank you, Mr. Venkat. Thanks for coming on this platform and just giving an insight for all the future technologies and on the online platform. The comparative chart which you have shown about the different platform is really useful, and I hope the students when viewing your video will be definitely get a chance to know that how many platforms we do have, and we can compare accordingly. So similar way, we are getting so many questions from the students that the online courses are either whether they have a sufficient for making their quality up, and also are they ready if the students go through the online platforms and get the training. So they are prepared for the job. Although you have covered a little in your presentation, but similarly, I just want to have a clear picture for the students. Thank you, sir. Thanks for taking my question.
Thanks so much, Dr. Babita. So the question whether the online platform could cater to that, whether it will fulfill all the need. The answer is, again, it depends at what level a person wants to learn. Right? Now, if you see an online platform, you have courses right from an awareness module to a deep skilling thing. And if you look at any a deep skilling course, right, which is actually like you've done the foundation, you actually get deeper into the coding and all that, or building an algorithm and all. One of the most important thing is the application of those skills. That's very important, because what you learn initially on an online platform, it is good from a knowledge gathering perspective. You understand the concepts, but unless you apply that, it's going to be difficult. Right? So a lot of courses do provide those exercises with a virtual platform where people can actually go practice it, gets their hand dirty, because that's the crux of that. If you're not getting your hands dirty, believe me, it's very hard to find a job, irrespective of what certificates you have. Because in my conversation with corporates, a lot of people actually say, people come with a lot of certificates and degree, but if you ask them to write 5 lines of code, they're not able to do that. So that's one test that typically do, ask them to write a code, and they aren't able to. So organizations are also realizing that. And the key thing is, when you do an online course, it's good to gain knowledge. Here I want to bring about how you can leverage some of the other platforms as well to sort of implement or apply the skills that you have, and also get some visibility within the industry, I would say. So if you look at, recently we conducted a hackathon along with IBM, and it gives me great pleasure that we had a lot of participation from AKtU. And in fact, among the top 16, I think there were 8 or 9 of them among the top 16. And it was not a few thousands of participation. We had about 26,000 plus participants on that. And if AKtU has been able to produce at least 8 or 9 of them in the top 16, that's a great achievement. I want to congratulate all of you on that. It's a great achievement. The point that I'm trying to mention here is leveraging these platforms to actually apply the skills that you've gathered is important. Because moving forward, the channel of recruitment has also changed. It's no longer about whether you have a degree, whether you've got 70% and all. Many companies have given away with that or done with that. So today they look at if you have a skill potential, you're able to demonstrate that, we will take up. And I'm sure some of these people who have done well on the hackathon, there is a high probability they might get hired by those corporates as well. I hope that
Thank you
answered
so
that, Dr.
Yeah,
Babita.
yeah, it is really covered because we are also promoting about the hackathons and all the challenges which are coming in our way from different industry, because this is the actually it is going to play a part in recruitment part process, and definitely it get give the exposure to all the students also, and through these things are being created where the students are getting help in their coding and etc. also. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for your answer, sir.
Most welcome.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Babita. We also have Mr. Vineet Nehra. Can I ask you to ask some relevant questions for students?
Hello, Venkat sir. Thank you so much for
Hello.
sharing your wonderful thoughts on this particular topic and having you here also. On behalf of the student, I have one question that what action would you recommend a student should take to the current scenario to strengthen your future?
Okay. A good question. It won't be an easy answer for sure because you have a varied kind of students that you have. But I'll talk about things which apply to all. Right now, depending on the area of expertise, right? So it could be a person who's doing, say, a BCom, or somebody's doing a graduation in arts, or somebody's doing in engineering. So first thing which is very important is they are actually good at the fundamentals on whatever stream they are pursuing. It could be arts, commerce, or engineering. Make sure you're good at your fundamentals. That's very important. The other important thing is the digital fluency. It'll be good to have because most organizations are looking at it. So it'll be good to have a digital fluency on some of these technology areas. Maybe pick up few which are relevant to the area. For example, if you're on, say, finance, the closest thing to finance could be on analytics. It could be a blockchain. So you might want to look at those areas, not all the technologies that I talked about. The other important piece, which I did cover in one of the charts, is your soft skills that we used to call earlier, or now we call it as a professional skill, because there is a lot more element added to that. It's not just about communication. It could be about problem solving, design thinking, and all that. That has become very important. And this is not something, believe me, this is not something that you can sit in a classroom for a week and then say, okay, I'm good at communication or I'm good at collaboration. So this is something which takes a while for you to build that. So as you are in the college preparing for the corporate world or your future, you could be an entrepreneur as well, but make sure you develop that skill because it takes quite a while to make that as a habit and build that skill. So that is one. I would like to, because you said students, it's very important that the recall factor is there. So in terms of their preparedness for the jobs or their career, not just the job, but the future career, I would like to call out three important things. One is the learning agility, right? That's become the most important thing today. If you go to any recruitment guy, I'm sure he would say that learning agility is important. And the reason we're saying that is we do not know what kind of jobs are going to come in the future. So the person should be able to unlearn and learn new things. That becomes a very important thing. The second thing, which is adaptability. So I'm sure like all of us rather, went through some struggle, right? When we suddenly had to get into this virtual world, not everybody were comfortable, but we didn't have a choice. So it depends on whether you're forcefully doing it or you're doing it by choice. So adaptability becomes very important. The third important thing is the growth mindset or the positive attitude. The growth mindset is absolutely important, especially for all these future workforce, I would say. So I sort of build this as an acronym, which is LAG, Learning, Agility, Adaptability, Growth Mindset, which as an acronym is a LAG, right? So please remember the acronym LAG. If you do not have these traits, you would certainly lag behind others. So please make sure you actually focus on these three things, which is common for anybody, irrespective of the stream that you come from.
Okay.
Hope that was helpful.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vineet. Venkatji, I think that was a very good insight. The important things that you shared for the students, the 10 technology areas that you talked about, and the 10 professional skills that you shared. And I think something that was very different and interesting was that how the students, not just the IT and CS students, but the students from other branches can leverage these opportunities and the platform that you talked about, the future skills platform, how students can leverage this platform to learn these skills. Now, one thing is very common for students across all the sessions that we are conducting. There are a few common points that are coming out. and one is about ability to learn and unlearn. Another one that's common is positive attitude and having strong fundamentals. And I think one thing that I'm consistently hearing across all the sessions, including yours, is get your hands dirty. So for students, I would request you to look at how you look at this situation positively, and how you lever it is all in your hands. There are a lot of opportunities, and we will continue to conduct these sessions for your benefit. Venkatji, it was a wonderful session, and it was an enlightening session. Thank you so much for coming, taking your time for AKtU. And on behalf of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, of Professor Vinay Kumar Pathak, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. Vinay Kansal, and all the faculty and students, I thank you for coming to this program. Thank you so much, and thank you to UIC team for arranging this session.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure is totally mine.